And we're back again. All right. Well, I've got the collar piece done, and as you can see, it's actually looking pretty good. That's the detail piece on the back. I'm just going to kind of work it around here because I don't have the best light coming in the window right now. But there's how it looks, and as you can see, oh yeah, there we go. As you can see, cutting out that centerpiece, sanding it, and then putting it back into place. That worked really well. You can see everything's nice and clean lines on there. It looks really good, especially with the paint on it. Now, of course, just to let you know, I did use the polyacrylic, the urethane on the flat portions, and on this portion right here. And of course, what you see through here is the back side of that inner piece right there. Now, one thing I want to let you know, just point out, you can see through the gap there that the curves didn't quite line up, and that's okay, because the only way really to make it line up would have been to probably tape it down really hard, and I would have left just too many clamp marks. But there's what the shoulder looks like, and I don't think I'm going to, but I might go in there and just sand that so this curve is even on that side. But on the front side, as you can see, there's a little bit of overlap. So I've got that, I got that, and that's what it's going to look like from the inside. So I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to brush on some of the paint, just to a little bit of an extra layer on there. Doesn't hurt to hide those last little bits of tool marks that are on there. So now I might have to trim this piece off right here, just this last little bit. But again, that's gonna wait and see how the entire thing is fitting and feeling when I'm wearing it. The last thing I'm gonna end up having to do, of course, is put some Velcro tabs right here, and those will attach to the high part of the collar on the front armor piece. So there we go. Now, next thing I want to point out is shield generator box, and as you can see, I put a fresh coat of paint on there, and that little bit of tear out I had from the painter's tape being on there cleaned up very nicely. Speaking of painting, this is one of the hand pieces, and here's a little tip for you. When you want to tape something off like this, the best thing to do is paint the entire area the color that needs to be painted over. So I'm going to paint some red on there. I don't know how well you can see it. Okay, you can see the edge of the lip of the tape right there. So anyway, I'm going to paint this red is going to actually extend out slightly, so there's going to be an angle of it. But what you do is you put the painter's tape, you paint it white, put the painter's tape on there, then come back and paint it white again, going back towards the painter's tape. And what that will do is that will actually seal the bottom edges of the tape, so you won't get any bleed through at all. So now when I paint the red will go on there, and I can pull the painter's tape off, and I'll have a very sharp, crisp line. It's going to look really good. So I'll show you how that looks later on. Next thing I had was the lower back piece, and that's what it's looking like there after being worked on. And let me pull way back so you can see the template. And I used an entire sheet of the 5mm craft foam. It's 12 by 18. I didn't expose all of it, just quite, not quite all of it. And let's go ahead a little closer here. You can see a small hidden area up there at the top, and I think right here in the center, that's only a ½ inch. Yeah, that's right. And it's about 3 inches right here on the edges, and there's the curve. But this curve right here is traced off the lower back. Excuse me, the lower back piece. This right here. So what I had to do was I had to lay that down, hold my template up, and curve that. So that's how that's going to look. Now, don't really pay attention to these cutouts right now. This is just how it's going to look. And there you go. All right. Now the 9 inches that you see right here is to this angle right here. So it comes up to a shallow angle and then extends up, getting a little larger. So now let's get this template out of the way. And the next thing I want to show you is the actual piece itself. So again, I had the black craft foam, and I cut that one. Well, let's do it this way. I cut that to size. Then I came back and I cut the center portion of that template out, and that gave me this. And then what I used at that point was that excised template, and I used that to cut the textured piece of foam. So what I have here is a piece that's a bit over half an inch, well over half an inch thick now. So then I took the white craft foam that you saw, and the reason I use the white craft foam is because you can make a mark on it, you can actually see it. And I use these funky little templates right here, and they are 3/4 of an inch high. These are 45 degree angles, but the width varies everywhere from, I think, maybe 3 inches total to about maybe 5 inches total up here. So I think that looks pretty good, and I just Gorilla Glued those into place. This piece right here is made off of this template right here, and as you can see, it's 8.5 by 1.5 rectangle, and this is going to be a lower back shield piece. Let me show you what's going on with that real fast and come back to it. What I did is I just cut just a very, very basic block of foam, and then I drilled some small holes in it with the Dremel, and then I scored between those holes, and I think you can just see them. Yeah, you can just see in between the holes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the EO wire up through a hole, tuck it into this scoring, and then back down through this hole. It's going to come on the back side here. Now I hollowed these out slightly so the wire doesn't have to curve as sharply, but also when this piece gets glued into place, it's going to look like that. So that wire is going to have some place to go, and I should have plenty of wire. I ordered a 10-foot length, well, a 3-meter length, and even what I'm going to do on the back side, on the back piece, that should work out fine. Now, again, here's what it's going to look like when I'm done getting it together, and there you go. I think that's probably a little tricky to see, but you see that detail line right there, and the other one. Let's put into the light and see if I can do this for you a little better. Okay, there you go. You can see I've got the detail lines cut. And what I did was, this was a lucky accident, actually, on my part. Those detail lines actually catch the lower back piece almost perfectly. The detail lines run down, and they lead right into that lower area. So I think that's going to look really, really good. What I'm going to do again is I still have to seal this with the polyacrylic, and then give it a couple coats of spray paint, but no issues there. Now, one thing I did do is I did go out and I just put my polishing bit in the Dremel tool, went out, and I just polished it so the edges of the foam line up. Now, the last thing I did, just to let you know, or sorry, before I did that, just let you know, I did cut these pieces all the way up. I did cut this piece till it extended through right here. What you can do is, if you want, you can cut that off yourself sharply, but I just waited till everything was in place, and then I took a ballpoint pen, set this shield piece across it, and then used the ballpoint pen to mark it. And as you can see, the ballpoint pen is a very, very fine tip. It does mark lightly on the foam, so you can just see it, but that gave me a perfect spot on where to cut. And then very, very carefully, I peeled the foam off with a little help from the X-Acto knife, and I managed to get what you see here. Now this may make some of you nervous. All right, that's where I peeled the foam off, where I had Gorilla glued it down. It took me some work to do that, so don't worry about that. Don't panic when you see that. It will hold. The Gorilla Glue will hold. However, whenever possible, when you're doing this, don't Gorilla Glue onto a painted or a polyurethane surface, because it will not hold as well. But this is Gorilla Glued on a polyurethane surface, these corners right here. And I'm shaking these like crazy, and as you can see, they're working fine. So, hope all this information helped And I hope I gave you some good tips, some more good advice. And I really, really appreciate everybody out there who's subscribed and who's following this build. And I hope this is inspiring you, or at the very least helping you do your own thing. So with that, have a good one. See you another time. Bye.